Scene 112. Take one.
My legal name is John Everett Miner. My Al's bar name is John the Miner. I grew up right on the border of Temple City and El Monte, aka the San Gabriel Valley. The only thing I was really into about the suburbs was thrift stores. I was one of these weird suburban kids that sort of gravitated towards weird suburban kids, and we thought we were being like avant-garde. Like I read a book about John Cage, and so I got me and my friends to like make noise music. I first came to downtown Los Angeles when I was maybe 15 or 16, going to underground parties, art events, punk gigs in warehouses and Gorky's. Downtown LA at that time was just like completely grungy. And if you went to a party, you would be stepping over like crackheads that were passed out that had puked and pissed themselves. And amazingly, nobody ever bothered you because they figured if you were downtown at that time, you were up to no good as well. The first time I ever laid eyes on the American Hotel and Al's bar was when my friend's father took us to the Helter Skelter exhibition at the temporary contemporary Mocha. And then he took us to the Museum of Neon Art, and then he said, Al's bar used to be here. You know, like he didn't know if it was open or not, but he's just like, yeah, they used to have an airplane nailed to the sign of this building. He's like, yeah, a lot of artists live up in here. That was the first time I ever saw that corner. But even before that, I knew what Al's bar was because, of course, I owned the bootleg LP, the Misfits, live at Al's bar. And the copy I had just sounded like static. Later on, I knew why, because I had played there and saw shows there, and it was like, yeah, that was Al's PA. That was a clear recording of what a band sounded like at Al's. My first band that played Al's bar, we were called Los Mongos, meaning the retarded. Me and my buddies from El Monte would have a gore show. We would dress in drag. I'd have like a bra with like fake tits that were stuffed with fake blood. So the first time we played Al's, we did that, and it was a no talent night. That was before I was 21. We couldn't play worth shit. We had little 30-watt amps because that's all we could afford because none of us like had any money or worked. We thought we were being punk rock and avant-garde at the same time, and we got out and we're just like, whoa, man, we played Al's bar. And it was like a big deal because it was just like, if we were from New York and you'd want to play CBGB's, well, that's what Al's bar was. And that band played Al's bar a few times. The biggest one was with Smogtown headlining and Fag Rabbit and False Alarm. And so that was a wild, truly punk rock night. We were there this one night and there was like nobody there and we're just like drunk and just having a good time and just like, yeah, we got a PA and we're on a stage and there's a few people milling about. So this homeless guy comes in, this African-American guy, and so he's just like, you know, bopping around to like what we're doing and just like dancing and dancing, you know, doing a jig and just kicking ass. And he's just like, hey, and I had my harmonica and he just takes it, taps my spit out of it on his pant leg and puts the mic up and just fucking kills it. Amazing like blues harp. And I step back off the stage and turn into an audience member and I'm like, whoa, man. And he's just like, yeah, thanks, man. He hands me the harp and I'm just like, do you have a harmonica? And he's like, no, man, I used to play for a long time. And I was like, dude, you have a harmonica now. Put that in your pocket, man, because you can make some money like playing like you do on the street. It's awesome. Al's bar is like, you know, at the later period, it was more artsy than punk. It wasn't really like mohawks and leather jackets and boots and oi oi, and it was just sort of a freak scene. Because it was the 90s, there was people like nailing their dicks to ladders and dropping the ladders, and that was performance art. But everybody played at Al's. There was the noise rock, pop punk, and weird stuff like Frank Moore, the Bay Area poet and writer and everything that was disabled, where his wife was up there reading his poetry naked.
Roller coaster ride to talk about how they can always be together in their small, warm world.
So it was a little different. It was like, it was freakish, it was noisy, it was arty. Sometimes it was punk, but more often than not, it was just something different. Everybody got their slot. Things like that don't exist in LA anymore. Closest thing would be the Redwood. But even the Redwood has a booking policy. Al's Bar didn't. I was a screen printer since I was 15 and took it all through high school, and was working at t-shirt shops and sweatshops and everything, and then here come this intern opportunity for Richard Duardo, the great Chicano printmaker, and so I quit a paying job to take that on. I was 19 or just turned 20. I just started doing posters and flyers just to be like a part of the scene. My first screen printed poster for Al's Bar was my friend Za, who was a brilliant, disturbed outsider musician. I threw together this one color poster and just screen printed it in blue, and we're just like, yeah, our friend Za's got a residency at Al's Bar. It's like, whoa, man, it's like he's famous. He didn't like it and everything, but that damn thing hung in Joel Bloom's store till it closed. My style was influenced a lot by Frank Kozik and early LA punk rock flyers, total cut and paste and making something interesting that people look at and just say, what is that? What's going on? This is before the internet. If even a shitty band had a cool looking poster, it would bring a handful of people to your show. Back then it was like posters, man, you put up in record stores, you gave them away to people that were important. The long narrow format, that's a telephone pole format. Staple gun, one in the middle to destroy it if somebody wants to take it as a collectible.
American Hotel, Al's Bar.
I knew Toast because I had interviewed her band, the Neptunas, for a zine I was writing for. And so I never was able to sneak into Al's Bar before I was 21 because she knew exactly who I was. And her and other people nicknamed me John the Miner because I tried to sneak into Al's Bar. I tried to go to where the bands would put their gear and just sort of sit on the couch and just, wait for the place to fill up. And then Cliff spotted me and he's like, hey, you, get out of here. And he didn't even ask for my ID. That was the first time I was inside Al's Bar. I kind of admired Toast because I just thought she was a cool person. She looked cool and she played in cool bands like the Paper Tulips and the Neptunas. Toast, in my mind, was a cross between a sweet, loving mother and a cop. She was the manager of the American Hotel, the booker at Al's. If a bartender didn't show up, it was her. If she didn't need to do sound, she did that too, but she just kept the whole place running. Mark Kreisel, the owner of Al's, just like Al's Bar is not a business. It's LA's longest running performance art experiment. But Toast really tried to keep the thing running. She would buy toilet paper for the place because, Mark wouldn't. And she cared a lot about the people. She cared a lot about Al's Bar. I have a lot of respect for her. But if you fucked up and stepped out of line, she would set your ass straight and she would kick you out. And it wouldn't be Cliff. If there was two guys fighting, Toast was the one grabbing them by the hair and escorting their asses out. As little as she is, she impressed me so many times. You didn't mess with Toast. As far as booking Al's Bar, she had good friends and good bands all over the country, and she gave a shot to the nobodies. I saw some amazing bands there that nobody's ever heard of till this day that played to kind of empty rooms because they happened to be touring through town on a Tuesday. If she had been given the support and Al's didn't close, it would be a booming business today. It just seemed like this weird environment. The bathroom at the inn hall, oh, you got to use the bathroom? Well, here's the toilet paper. And I just thought that was so bizarre. And it was hot as a bitch in the summer and cold in the winter. And I'm just like, this is kind of cool. They're all artists and Al's Bar is your living room. But, it just seemed like just a weird place. I'd go up in the hotel and talk to Toast, and that wall with all the posters that Toast collected, the original gold leaf glass mirror thing that was hanging there, I always thought that was cool. So Toast talked to Mark Kreisel and just said, hey, this kid, he's always around here. Have him do a run of posters to promote the biggest show of the month in exchange for a free small room. I think at the time, Jake LaBatte's had a free room for playing at Al's Bar. So I talked to Toast and Mark in the morning, and Mark says, oh, okay, yeah, all right, that sounds good. And then he changed his mind. Oh, that's Mark. It didn't piss me off, but my first place out of my parents' house being above Al's Bar, I think Mark would have gotten all my fucking money. I think it was a good thing in my life that I never lived there, because I think I would have been a bad alcoholic, or maybe my choices in women would have been terrible for that young age I was at. So I think it was a good thing, worked out well. Bloom's General Store. It was like the little hub of the small town that was the downtown arts district. Joel was this guy where I walked in the first time and he's like, "What do you want?" I got him one time and he caught me in a bad mood and he was in a bad mood. And, "Hey, Miner, what do you want?" And I was just like, "Man, Joel, fuck you. I'm here giving you money and everything like this. Why don't you just like not give me shit when I come in here?" He's like, "I'll tell you what I want." And he just like laughed about it and he's just like, "Okay." The best Joel Bloom story I have is that I was leaving Al's early because the crowd got sketchy, and I went into Joel's to get a pack of cigarettes and said hi to Joel, and he was real friendly, and there was this guy out there standing at the door saying, "Fuck you, man. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm going to fuck you up and fucking kill you. Fucking fuck you." And Joel's just sitting there with a cigarette in his mouth. The ash is hanging off, and he rings me up. He's like, "Hey, Miner. Hey, how's it going?" Joel probably was packing some heat, and he was a Vietnam vet. This guy that thought he was tough, Joel was just like, "Come on." And there was that look in his eye. And I said, "Have a good night, Joel." The first time that he went for surgery to take out some cancer, and we're just like, he'll be fine. That guy's too tough, too fucking mean, and too nasty, and maybe even evil to die. It's like death doesn't even want to fuck with him. He battled it. He didn't look like a sick person. When he was back in the store, it's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I met him and people said, "Oh, that's Dr. Jones." And I was like, "What, is he really a doctor?" Hey, he's an old guy and looks like he's been around the world a bit. And his truck with all the toys glued to it, that was a trip. He invited me up to his place. And I started talking to him about antiques and stuff, because I learned that was one of the things he did. He hustled antiques and traveled to Borneo and brought back treasures. I don't know if he was spinning me a yarn, but he's talked about smuggling skulls from Mexico, old, buried, dug up skulls. And he says, "Oh yeah, you put clay around them and make them look like a folk art. Take them to the hotel and paint some flowers on them. And then they put them here in the bathtub and soak them in the unfired clay comes right off them, and then you clean them up." And I'm like, is this crazy little old guy with keys in his ear and talking about smuggling skulls? After he passed away, they brought chairs and cardboard and stuff and had this big bonfire in the honor of Don Jones. And the fire got so big, it melted the high power wire on the pole on Traction Avenue. Do that now, yuppie property owners complaining. The Arts District at the late 90s had matured. You had people like Joel Bloom working with the city council and getting diagonal parking spaces and getting the police to patrol. It was like a small town. I would just hang out there. I would sit there and I would have a coffee in the morning at the table outside of Bloom's. I would see all these people, and it was great because it was just like, "Oh, hey, John the Miner, what are you doing today?" It's like, nothing. "Well, we got this gig. Come help us today. It'll pay $50. Or I'd skate around and I would just say hi to people. I'd say, "Hey, Hap, how's it going?" Because his front door would be open. A front door open in downtown LA. Even the homeless people like Duncan, the homeless handyman, he was protective of the Arts District as his turf to keep it nice. So if not nice homeless people went through there, they would get their asses kicked. People kept their eyes out, and people were nice to me. Even when I was a dumb kid, I was never treated like a dumb kid. I was a young artist. I was taken care of. Even when I was 21, it was I'd go to Al's bar and get shit-faced beyond belief, just drunk and incorrigible. Toast would step in. She was there to protect me, and I loved it. I wanted to live down there so bad. But, eventually started living in downtown and did for quite some years until it became what it is now. I moved from the suburbs to get away from asshole jocks, yuppies, expensive food, and drink, and it followed me there. As far as the Arts District, except for the people that live in the American Hotel now, I don't know a single damn person that lives in the Arts District. That's a thing of the past. I don't know why they're still calling it the Arts District. They should just name it something else. The Condo and Restaurant District. Several years back, there was an art show and a skateboard release that was right down the street from Al's on Traction. And it was 3 PM, and some person called the police and said, "Oh, there's noise and there's people skateboarding." And it's just like, what dumbass moves to downtown LA even today with $1 million looking for serenity, peace, and quiet? It's downtown, it was noisy, it's gritty. Artists lived there because they could live and work, they could not be bothered or questioned about what their strange activities were, cutting metal in the middle of the night or pushing a Marshall amp into a studio. And everybody looked out for each other and took care of each other, and it was beautiful. It was awesome. You know, we'd go there and just like, you know, you'd say hi and it was like Mayberry, but it was in the middle of downtown.
Okay.